Welcome back to Nacho Wrestling, and welcome to the first episode of the 10 Count, a countdown-style show. And in the inaugural episode, we are going to look at 5 matches I want to see at All In, and 5 matches I don't want to see at All In. With that out of the way, let's get started with number 10, Want. FTR versus Acclaimed. In the case of the Acclaimed, they are still deserving of another shot at the tag titles. Ever since they lost the belts to the Guns, they have yet to get back to the same position as before. Even the Guns haven't even gotten back to the same position as before when they lost the belts to the FTR. Now with the story of Daddy Ass possibly retiring, or just maybe turning on Caster and Bowens, you could have the Acclaimed be placed back in one of the main fixtures of the tag division, and it would be nice to see, especially since FTR has done nothing with the tag titles. Number 9, Don't Want. CM Punk versus MJF for the unification of the AEW World Championship. Please don't. I know that Phil has had his ex-AEW World Championship unveiled to everybody, and he's carrying it around claiming to be a real World's Champion. But I think they can save the unification match for a later date. All In is not about Punk settling the score and earning everything that was taken from him. I would much rather see MJF do something of a higher level at All In, which I will talk about later in the video. Number 8, Want. Toni Storm versus Jade Cargill for the AEW Women's Championship. I know Jade is currently off TV and has stated she may not even come back to wrestling, and if that is the case, then good for her. She had an absolutely stellar run with the TBS title. I do, however, think that is an attempt from her and AEW to subdue expectations for when she does return, and finally, and hopefully, wreaks havoc on the main title scene in the women's division. Number 7, Don't Want. Dark Order versus Elite. I love the Dark Order, and I think the story of them falling back into a more sadistic and evil group, partially due to Hangman reuniting with the Elite and overall kind of being a shitty friend towards the tail end of their relationship, is a good story to tell. I do, however, believe, though, that they have not had the TV time to equal time at a pay-per-view. If they really wanted to do that match, Dark Order would be on TV more frequently and wrestling themselves, not just getting involved in matches halfway through or on backstage segments or on Rampage, because let's be honest, nobody watches Rampage. Number 6, Want. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. I think there's a story for AEW to tell with having Mox try to make peace with Eddie, leading him to being forced to choose sides and eventually team with Eddie versus Wheeler and Claudio at All In. And maybe at the end of the match, everyone decides to make peace and shake hands and squash the beef, just like the Blackpool Combat Club did with the Elite after Blood and Guts. And Eddie and Claudio can at least stand to be in the same room with each other. I think either way, the BCC Civil War is going to happen, eventually with Eddie playing the role of Bucky Barnes to Mox's Captain America and Claudio's Iron Man, and this, of course, makes Wheeler Yuta Spider-Man. Number 5, Don't Want. Chris Jericho versus Will Osprey. No way this should happen, and I only bring this match up because I've heard rumors about it possibly happening. All In is the home of a much more important and epic match that I will talk about near the end of the video, and it's a match that a lot of people, myself included, have wanted to see in Wembley Stadium, and now that it's actually has a possibility of happening, Jericho will have to go and do something else. Will has already cemented 2023 as his year. He doesn't need to have a match and a win against Jericho under his belt to proclaim that any further. Number 4, Want. MJF versus Adam Cole, but they're still friends. Listen, we all know eventually they are going to be enemies again, and Adam Cole is more than likely going to turn on MJF in this scenario. But imagine a friendly competitive match where MJF genuinely does get the better of Cole. Not only does Cole realize MJF is a good wrestler, but he realizes that he's going to have to step up his game if he does want to take the world title from him, leading to an Adam Cole heel turn. Number 3, don't want any version of the Outcasts versus Britt Baker and a partner. I have a feeling that this feud is a never-ending one, and we are going to see Brit call in another helping hand to tag with her in a match against Ruby and Saraya, or if Toni Storm's not defending her world championship, which is likely, it would be Toni and Ruby versus somebody and Brit. We really need to move forward and get something new for the Outcasts and Britt Baker. Hopefully that's happening soon, but we'll never know. Number 2, want Kenny Omega versus Will Osprey 3 in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Picture it. In Wembley, in his home country, Will Osprey puts on an absolute barn burner with Kenny Omega for the 3rd time in less than a year. I think they have built in the story perfectly for these two to have a 2 out of 3 falls match, each man having one apiece after 2 hard-hitting and, in some scenarios, kind of gruesome matches. What better way than to have 3 falls in one match to end a feud and provide a clear winner? Everyone in that stadium would go home or to their hotels happy. Number 1, don't want any CM Punk match at all. I cannot explain this enough, and I apologize for beating the horse to death here, but I don't think Punk needs to or should be at All In. I don't care that he is the first one to actually mention the show on television and talk about how nobody else has mentioned the show on television except for the commentary team. That was a funny little jab, I guess, at Tony or the rest of the EVPs, whatever. But you don't need to have him in the main event. You don't need to have him in the unification match with MJF. You don't need him. If you want him defending the belt, that's fine. But at the end of the day, MJF is the legitimate world champion, no matter how you slice it. So I don't think Punk needs to be on the card. But if you do, just don't put him in the fucking main event. That's it for the first edition of the 10 Count. Let me know what you guys want to see at All In down in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you guys can see all my videos. And I will see you guys next time.